Our tale begins in a small, forgotten graveyard nestled deep in the woods. This hallowed ground, lost to time, has seen better days. The once gleaming headstones now stand weathered and worn, their inscriptions eroded by the relentless passage of the years. The graveyard is shrouded in an eerie stillness that seems to seep into your very bones. It's as if the very air itself is holding its breath, the quiet only broken by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant hoot of an owl. It's a silence that speaks volumes, whispering tales of forgotten lives and untold stories. The atmosphere is heavy with an inexplicable feeling of unease. It's not just the cold wind that sends chills down your spine or the way the moonlight casts long, ominous shadows among the tombstones. There's a sense of something more, something lurking just beyond the veil of perception. It's a feeling that you're not alone, that unseen eyes are watching from the shadows. The locals, they steer clear of this place. It's not just out of respect for the dead, but a primal fear. Whispers of strange occurrences have circulated for generations, tales of spectral figures seen in the moonlight, of eerie whispers carried on the wind, of a lingering presence that refuses to rest. This forgotten graveyard has become a place of legend, its stories passed down from parent to child, a cautionary tale to ward off the curious. It's a place where the line between the natural and the supernatural seems blurred, a place that commands both fear and respect. And yet, as the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows that dance among the tombstones, the allure of the unknown becomes irresistible, a challenge to the brave, a dare to the foolhardy. Despite the warning signs, one night a group of adventurous teenagers decided to explore this forbidden territory. The group consisted of 4 friends: David, Sarah, Mike, and Lisa. It was David who proposed the dare. A quartet of companions bound by curiosity and the thrill of the unknown. David, the audacious leader, was the one who suggested the dare. Sarah, the cautious yet adventurous spirit, was hesitant but intrigued. Mike, the skeptic, didn't believe in ghost tales and was eager to prove them wrong. Lastly, Lisa, the quiet one, went along with the plan despite her reservations. The dare was a simple yet chilling one: to spend an entire night in the forgotten graveyard, a place whispered about in hushed tones and avoided by everyone in town. The friends, drawn in by the thrill of the dare and a desire to debunk the rumors surrounding the graveyard, agreed to the challenge. Their hearts pounded with a mix of fear and anticipation. Unaware of the imminent terror, they set off towards the graveyard as the sun began to set. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared, they found themselves standing at the entrance of the graveyard, the moon casting long, unsettling shadows. The moon, a silver disk in the inky black sky, provided the only source of light. The friends stood huddled together, their breaths hitching audibly in the eerie silence. The stones and markers around them, worn by time and weather, stood like silent sentinels in the darkness, their inscriptions barely legible. The rustling of the leaves in the trees surrounding the graveyard was the only sound that dared to break the quiet of the night. A cool breeze swept through the graveyard, causing the trees to whisper secrets to each other. The friends shivered, their fear palpable in the chill of the night. The rustling leaves seemed to echo the whispers of the long departed, their voices carried on the wind. The graveyard was alive with sounds of the night, each one amplifying the friends' fear, each sound a chilling reminder of where they were. They set up camp near an old crypt, its stone facade weathered and beaten by time. The crypt, once a grand monument, now stood as a stark reminder of mortality. The friends huddled together, their whispers barely audible over the rustling leaves and the distant hooting of an owl. The air was thick with anticipation and fear, each sound, each shadow causing their hearts to race. The moon, now high in the sky, cast long shadows that danced and flickered on the crypt's facade. The friends, their faces pale in the moonlight, stared at their surroundings, their eyes wide with fear. The graveyard, once a peaceful place in the daylight, now seemed to come alive with stories of the past. Each stone, each grave, each crypt seemed to whisper tales of those long gone, their voices echoing in the silence of the night. The friends sat huddled together, their fear growing with each passing moment. The graveyard was no longer a place of peace, but a place of fear, a place of the unknown. The moon continued to cast its eerie glow, the shadows growing longer and more sinister with each passing hour. As the night grew darker, so did their sense of dread. Midnight struck, and with it came an encounter that would forever haunt their memories. As the ominous chime of the clock tower echoed through the stillness, they felt a shift in the air, a chilling whisper of something ancient and unknown. The silence of the graveyard was no longer comforting, but a cloak of uncertainty that seemed to tighten around them. The once familiar pathways twisted into a labyrinth of shadows and fear, their bravado faltering with every step. They tried to laugh it off, tried to convince themselves that it was just their imagination playing tricks on them, but the whispers were growing louder. Disembodied voices, soft yet unnerving, echoed through the graveyard, each word a haunting melody of sorrow and regret. The whispers seemed to be coming from all around them, but the source remained elusive, a phantom in the night. And then, they saw it. A figure, as ghostly as the moonlight, hovering near a tombstone. It was an apparition, translucent and ethereal, its form barely more than a wisp of smoke, but its sorrow was palpable, a raw, heart-wrenching emotion that seemed to seep into the air around it. The figure appeared to be crying, its ethereal tears shimmering in the moonlight, creating a chilling scene that was as beautiful as it was terrifying. The friends watched in stunned silence, their hearts pounding in their chests. The whispers, the footsteps, the ghostly figure, it was all too much. They could feel their courage crumbling, their resolve shattering into 1,000 pieces, and in that moment, they knew they had to leave. They had to get out of the graveyard, away from the sorrowful ghost and the whispering voices. In terror, they fled, leaving behind their belongings. Their laughter and bravado were swallowed by the night, replaced by the chilling whispers of the forgotten graveyard. The encounter, as brief as it was, would stay with them, a haunting memory that would echo in their nightmares for years to come. The morning sun found the graveyard silent and empty, save for the abandoned campsite. A hush had fallen over the group, the previous night's terror hanging in the air like a dense fog. The friends were no longer the carefree souls they were when they'd first arrived, their laughter and banter now replaced with a stunned silence. They were in a state of shock, grappling to understand the inexplicable events they'd just experienced. Each one was lost in their thoughts, their minds replaying the chilling encounters over and over. They'd come face to face with an undeniable reality, one that was far removed from their everyday lives. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving them feeling drained and numb. They were no longer the daring adventurers who had willingly walked into the graveyard at night. They were survivors, haunted by the horrors they'd witnessed. Attempts at conversation fell flat, the words seeming trivial in the face of their shared trauma. The camaraderie that had once bound them together was now tainted with a shared fear. Each one was trying to cope in their own way, to rationalize the night's eerie events, but the uncanny happenings in the graveyard defied any logical explanation. They made a pact then, a silent agreement. They would never speak of this night again, never share their story. It was their way of trying to preserve their sanity, to move on from the terror that had gripped them. They parted ways at the edge of the graveyard, each one carrying the heavy weight of their experience. As they left, the graveyard returned to its usual state of undisturbed quiet. The morning sun cast long shadows among the tombstones, making the place seem even more eerie. It was as if the graveyard was a different world in daylight, its secrets safely buried with its residents. And so the friends moved on, carrying their haunted memories with them. They never returned to the graveyard, the memory of that night forever etched in their minds. The forgotten graveyard remained, undisturbed and eerie, its secrets buried with its residents. Years later, a historian uncovered a tragic tale linked to the graveyard. The forgotten sepulchre held a secret more chilling than anyone could have imagined. It turns out the spectral figure that had so terrified our group of friends was likely the restless spirit of a woman who met a tragic end and was interred within this secluded cemetery. Her story, lost to time, was a lamentable one, filled with sorrow and heartache. This revelation, while unsettling, brought a sense of closure for the friends. Their terrifying encounter suddenly had a face, a name, a story. It wasn't just a nameless terror anymore, but a tragic tale of a life cut short. Yet the graveyard still held a chilling aura, a silent testament to the tragic past it cradles. The graveyard's chilling story serves as a reminder that some places are better left undisturbed. Remember, every stone has a story, every echo a tale, and every graveyard a history.